Steve, you were at Bain for 30 years plus, or 40 years plus. Okay. Then you owned the Boston Celtics for a number of 30 years or so. Now you're an artificial intelligence investor.
Absolutely.
All right. What is the best way to make money in artificial intelligence investing today?
I think there are many, many ways. You can invest directly into AI companies. The structure of the industry is very interesting. It harks back to the early days of internet, where there are many companies kind of competing on a large language model basis to try to get market share. And it's astounding, David. 1.5 trillion. 1.5 trillion is the estimated investment over the next 5 years as you build these data centers and infrastructure. When you think about that order of magnitude, it's bigger than the railroads, bigger than anything that's ever been done. And it's going to drive a lot of ancillary businesses and chip businesses, service businesses, power businesses. So there's a whole chain where you can make money investing. And I think that spending will continue because it's an existential issue for companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple. They have to have it.
Okay. How is artificial intelligence helping Saudi Aramco?
So we deploy artificial intelligence in all aspects of the business. But if I give you a specific example, in our upstream business, deciding on where to drill, how far to go, where is the sweet spot underground, that is all now guided by AI. In 2024 alone, about $2 billion in value was generated from deploying AI in the company.
And let me ask you, when you're exploring for oil, traditionally you just kind of made a reasonable guess of where oil might be. Does artificial intelligence help you figure out where the oil actually is, or not yet?
No, absolutely. So we have elaborate reservoir models, high performance computing that we've built over the many, many years for all of our subsurface reservoirs. And now AI just enhances the fidelity of these models to the point where we're almost very certain to hit oil when we're drilling.
Okay. So how did you become an expert in AI? Did you study this in college, or were you a technology expert, or how did you become an expert in this?
I was an AI practitioner for 12 years when I was first at Tudor Investment, and I started writing code and models for about 12 years of my career. And that was an early fascination, and I tried even neural networks at the time. We could not make them work reliably, and I think that was for me also a moment in 2017 when the transformer model came out to say this is something big. Now we can reliably predict not just words, but also the 3D structure of proteins.
So at Tudor Investments, you used AI before everybody else knew about AI in order to invest?
I think a lot of people were using AI, different forms of machine learning to predict the stock markets.
All right. When you trained as a technology person initially?
Statistician and econometrics is my background, so it crosses over to machine and deep learning.
Paul, right now, the University of Chicago is becoming a leader in something called quantum computing. Can you explain to people that are not technology experts what quantum computing is and why that's going to make our lives better?
Okay, sure. So all of you, of course, are familiar with just the use of computers, which is based on digital mathematics. It's digital, 0, 1. We can add things. We can represent the world. AI, mostly based on neural networks, the mathematics of those, which allows you to see correlations between things. Quantum takes the equations that were developed to describe atoms and molecules and applies that mathematics to any problem where there are many solutions that are very close by related to each other, but you care a lot about which one is the best. For example, let's say a logistics problem, or you have so many cities and so many trucks and so many products. How do you optimize that? That's like the electrons finding their best spot inside a molecule that lowers the energy. You minimize the utility function for a problem like that. And in the years ahead, you will see CPUs and GPUs and quantum processing units all working together to solve problems. So quantum will be another layer that will solve certain problems with extraordinary precision and speed.
Okay. Let's suppose I am another country not as wealthy as your country, and I want to look for oil. Could I borrow your artificial intelligence mechanism to figure out where my oil is? Or you don't really want me to find oil because it will lower the price if I find more oil?
I wish it would work that way. Unfortunately, the way we find oil is a combination of asset managers. So you have the petroleum engineers, the subsurface engineers, the data scientists, and then logs, 90 years worth of logs that we use to fine tune our models. So unfortunately, I wish it would be as easy as that, but it won't work just to take our models and apply them.
Okay. And how long will it be before we use up all the oil on the face of the earth at our current pace? 100 years, 200 years?
Well, I mean, I can talk about the reserves in Saudi. At today's production rate, we have another 40 to 50 years easily. The good thing about technology is that it increases the proven reserves.
Right.
As again, with the technology, we can actually find stranded oil, untapped oil that we did not know exists. So, for instance, for the last 40 years, Aramco has been producing oil at 10 million barrels a day. Our reserves used to be 266 billion barrels. Today, they're a little bit higher than that, which means we have replenished everything we've produced using technology.
Now, we measure output of oil by barrels, but that's a 100-year-old term. Why don't we do something more technologically updated? Why do we still measure things in barrels?
Yeah, it goes back to the blue barrel. But I think, the industry is quite attached to some of the fundamental terms. So I think, good luck.
Not going to change. Okay, everyone, quiet, please.
Quiet out there.
Steve, you were an owner of the Boston Celtics for 30 years. You won some championships. When you draft players, do you use artificial intelligence to say this player's good, this player's not good, or artificial intelligence doesn't help you?
So when we bought the team in 2003, the first thing we did was hire data scientists. So we started machine learning over 23 years ago. And we're now on model, I think, 20.0. We changed it every year. And it's been very valuable in two aspects. One, in comparing players in the draft, who do you pick in the draft? And two, how do players compete against each other? Where do they shoot from the floor? Where are they good? Where they're bad? So we have all sorts of proprietary algorithms that help the team prepare for opponents and help us pick players and help us improve players. So we were one of the pioneers in that, and now all the NBA teams have it.
And doing private equity deals, you did that for 40 years at Bain. When you do private equity deals, does AI help you decide do this deal or that deal, or really it's too difficult for AI to penetrate that business?
I think, as you know from Carla, AI is penetrating now. It's a recent development, but it is only a tool. You need the judgment, you need the experience. And I think as private equity firms develop, AI is going to become a very important part of an analytical package that you'll have to do your investments in the next year.
Now, you're a Duke graduate, and you draft some Duke players, and they're really good. So do you just draft Duke players? Is that your formula for success?
Well, Duke gets some of the best players, and it's a great place. As you know, it had a fantastic chairman about a few years ago and has another one now that's the head of the NBA.
Okay, so, Paul, right now, for parents out here, how many people have children in college? Anybody here? How many people want to have their children in college? Okay. Do you see these ratings of universities from time to time? University of Chicago did very well in a recent one. Does artificial intelligence get used to figure out these ratings? Or how reliable are they? And should parents rely on these ratings?
Okay. Don't rely too much on the ratings, but do try to think about what the university or the college is really putting forth. And if I can, Dave, just take 1 sec here and say this. What people here are interested in is who are the human beings that are going to be the best at using these new technologies, and who are going to create the future of the capital world? Who will think the best with machines? And so what we will do, we teach students to think like a humanist, a social scientist, a physical scientist, mathematician, study of civilization. These days, we also teach students how to think computationally. It's not so much that we're going to train them in AI, but all of our students will learn how to think about problems in that way. And ultimately, I believe they will be the highest performers in the world of the best minds thinking with the best AIs in tandem. That's our focus is on doing that. So if that's what you're looking for, we're the right place.
How do you make sure that students are not turning in papers that are written by artificial intelligence? What is the best way to catch somebody doing that?
Put a Faraday cage around the room and use some blue books. Look, seriously, in our curriculum, there are parts of it that we actually do decouple completely from AI. But from our perspective, we want students to learn how to think with machines, how to think about them, and also how to think without them. And the cheating piece isn't that important to us in the end. It's really about giving them the right way of thinking about the world they're in.
All right. So today, if I wanted to start a company to do stock investing, and I did not want to use artificial intelligence, am I doomed to failure?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we used to have these two disciplines, quant and discretionary investing, and I think they will all merge very, very quickly. I think right now already with agentic abilities, you are able to replicate a junior research person in the financial industry. So I think we're getting there very quickly, and to compete without AI, I think is the lost cause.
Hey, how many people here have children who want to be professional investors? Anybody? Couple. All right. What's the best skill to be a professional investor today? Is it knowing technology? Just working very hard, being smart? What's the best way to be trained to be a good investor, be ready to be a good investor?
And I think two things. You need to know the tools that are available to augment your own intelligence. But I think ultimately investing is about imagining the future and understanding what technology will change over the next 10 years. And AI, I think, is a key skill in that regard.
So would civilization be better off or worse off if oil had never been discovered on the face of the earth? Suppose there were no oil ever.
So, I mean, if there was no oil, most of us would be naked in this room. Most of you would not have glasses on your eyes. Most of us would have a hard time getting to this place. And this dome would probably not exist with the fabric that it has. So I think it's a pretty grim picture without hydrocarbons.
Okay. Now, at Saudi Aramco, how does it feel when you hear the other government leaders saying, we want to diversify out of oil and we want to get rid of our dependence on oil? Does that make you feel unwanted from time to time?
So in Aramco, we invest in different types of energies, including renewables. And we have a lot of research and development effort and money being spent on direct air capture, long duration energy storage, converting hydrogen and ammonia as a fuel to power. So for us, we actually think the more the merrier, the more the alternatives, the better, because the world population has grown. If you go back 150 years ago, we used to use wood, coal, a bit of hydrocarbons, very little renewables. All that has happened over the 150 years, we've just added to these resources. So the percentage of the energy mix has shifted, but the absolute quantum of what we're using, even in wood and coal, has increased from 150 years ago because the population is growing.
Okay. So, Steve, why is everybody rushing to buy sports teams these days? You were an investor in sports teams. Why is that a great investment? And do you use artificial intelligence to tell you this is a good team to buy or this is a bad sport to be in? You ever use that?
No, I think buying teams is a combination of passion, and it's had explosive growth because in a world of media fragmentation, it's the only media programs that can be watched by a global audience. So value television, since we've invested in the NBA, television contracts up 10 times and values are up 20 times. And they're scarce assets, a little bit like, why do you buy the Mona Lisa, the Declaration of Independence? There's only 30 NBA teams. It's a very scarce asset. And it's also great for the community when you can buy a team and use that for charitable purposes.
So you bought the team for roughly $350 million. You sold it for roughly $6 billion.
Yes.
What's the internal rate of return on that?
Very high.
Very high. Okay.
17% per year for 23 years.
All right. So today, if you are somebody who wants to get into the sports world, what's the best way to use artificial intelligence? Is it a rely on an advisor who knows artificial intelligence? How do you use artificial intelligence to determine buying a sports team or not buying a sports team?
I think it's similar to, again, the private equity industry. Artificial intelligence is a tool where you can, rank the leagues, rank the teams based on revenues, based on trends. And it's all about the data you put in the model and then how you use it. Again, I think we can't forget that artificial intelligence is an incredible tool, but it is a tool. And you need human intervention and judgment, as you said, to predict the future beyond, I think, artificial intelligence.
I want to say, in my mind, sports investing is the ultimate AI investment. It's probably one of the few things that's going to be resilient to AI. Because I think if there's one thing that we cannot replace, it's the human competition, the desire to compete, and the defeat and the victories and how we celebrate those. I think it's something truly and uniquely human. So I think it's only going to rise in value in my view.
So, Paul, has artificial intelligence made your job easier or harder?
Oh, well, I think it's making my job much better. First of all, we can use it all around the university for, organizing ourselves and operating the place. But well beyond that, look, in the next, we're about the absolute limit of human performance for education and for creating new knowledge. And in the next 10 years, that's just going to take off. So, I mean, if you're in the knowledge business, AI is something that just makes human performance go through the roof.
So when I went to college, the big test question, and we always ask professors is this going to be on the exam or not? Students still ask, is this going to be on the exam or not, or everything's on the exam?
Our students don't go that way too much because
Okay.
they're very, these are like very curious people, and they have read all kinds of stuff that was never, they're not people who just read what they're assigned to read. Right? These are like devourers of knowledge. That's our type of student.
Suppose I apply to the University of Chicago, I get in, I say, I only care about poetry. I just want to be a poet. I want to learn about poetry. I only want to read poetry. Can I graduate from the University of Chicago without knowing anything about artificial intelligence?
No, you can do that. You can become we have some phenomenal people that are some of the greatest poets on our faculty. But to a student, we would say, we really think you'll be a better poet if you learn to think lots of different ways. And then, off you go, do your thing.
So right now in Saudi Arabia, your budget, I assume, is based on oil being at $85 a barrel or something like that, maybe. And maybe it's a state secret what the budget is. But when oil is being produced, more and more oil is being produced, is that a good thing for society or not a good thing? Because more oil is making it cheaper, but on the other hand, it doesn't help your business, does it?
So there's been a pivot in the last few years where a lot of the oil wealth has been reallocated into sectors like tech, tourism, and other industry, entertainment, right, in the kingdom. So I think that wealth is being diverted into areas that have longer term also sustainability and can weather the cyclicalities, the booms and the busts of the energy industry.
And why should somebody want to visit as a tourist Saudi Arabia?
Well, so the kingdom has opened up for tourism a few years ago. We have some of the most oldest archaeological sites untouched by human beings, especially in the west coast of the kingdom, a place called Al Ula. The kingdom is a thriving society. There's a lot of startups. I invest in startups all around the world, and I can tell you that the ecosystem in Riyadh, the East Coast, is booming because, again, you're unleashing a society that has 70% below the age of 35. So it's an interesting place that was closed for many years that is now open for tourism, for business.
Steve, some people, amazingly, don't think private equity is a good thing for society. Tell us, why is private equity a good thing for society?
Private equity is misunderstood. I think that's really a misnomer. It's been an incredible model because it brings ownership close to the businesses. It's gone from a cottage industry to an industry that adds value, brings AI, brings finance, brings marketing, brings skills across these companies globally. So for many companies now, they can stay private for a long time, have capital access, have all the money that they need, and you have owners that are actively involved versus the stock market, which is less active involved, has a board of directors that rotates in and out, and they don't have the kind of ownership that private equity has in the company. So I think it's a model that's here to stay. Aggregate is generated great returns for investors, and so I think it's good for society. It's good for job creation, and it's a model that's here to stay.
If you own a professional basketball team like the Celtics, can you get to play horse with the players, and do they ever shoot around? Do they let you do that on the court, or you're not allowed to do that?
No, they let you do it. The players in the NBA are really great, especially our team. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are very approachable. We bring the kids to practice. It's like a family, so it's a really enjoyable experience.
Okay, great. So, Paul, today, what should people know about universities that they don't know? What is the most common misconception today about major American universities?
Oh, golly. You really hit on a topic there, dude. I would say a lot of discussion is going into the, what we do around education. Are we places where there's a true marketplace of ideas? Is free expression thriving? Those kinds of issues have been at the forefront. But I do hope people know that universities are places of great discovery of new knowledge, and that new knowledge goes out and benefits society more broadly. And I think, certainly in the United States, it's true across the world, but it's certainly true in the United States that the great research universities are one of the reasons why the economy of the United States is so dynamic.
Now, many years ago, a famous university president from Berkeley, I think it was, Clark Kerr, said that to be a university president, you only have to worry about three things: football for the alumni, parking for the faculty, and sex for the students. Is that still the case?
Well, we don't worry about football too much.
Okay. Okay. So on Saudi Arabia today, how is Project Vision 2030 going? Is it working on schedule?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think a lot is going into tech, which is a major enabler of, the new Saudi Arabia tourism. So I think if you look at a lot of the metrics, many of them are trending in the right direction. I had Arabco Ventures, which is a global VC that invests across the world, from as far as Palo Alto West to Beijing, Shanghai in the East. We have more than 7.5 billion in AUM invested in tech, in startups that have disrupted the AI industry. One of them is Grok, the inferencing chip that was just acquired by NVIDIA for $20 billion. So I think a lot of that vision is dovetailing with some of the actions that we're doing.
Okay, so let's suppose I want to leave here with making some money. Can you give me one little stock tip about something that might be a good area to invest in over the next 5 years or so? Anything I can invest in that you might tell me about? Tell everybody here.
Yeah, so the last 3 years have all been about the AI enablers, the AI 7, whether it's the chip companies or the hyperscalers. And we think the next years will all be about the AI adopters, those companies using AI to drive revenue and also lower cost. And in particular, very excited about the healthcare opportunity where, it's trading at a discount to the S&P 500, yet we may have a chance to actually bend the cost curve from drug discovery all the way to clinical trials. I think that's one of the most exciting opportunities, to bend that Eron law that shows us that drugs have now doubled in costs every 9 years.
Thank you all. And we're done, out of time. Thank you all very much.